Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 302 of your Tick Bootcamp podcast. The title of today's interview is Balance is Key, an interview with Rosmeyris Estrella. My name is Richard Johansson.
And I'm Matt Sabatello.
Folks, this is a really interesting interview with a young lady who is a fitness professional, and she gained her passion for fitness and nutrition as a result of being an Uber mom who has a child with a disability that requires her to be very careful with her diet and very careful with her exercise in order to be healthy. And one of the things that happened with Rose in this journey of hers was that she actually became a little too extreme in using exercise more for appearance than for serving her and the way that she feels. And at the same time she was engaging in that exercise passion, she moved from a city to a rural community that was a tick endemic community. And she got bitten by a tick. And this combination of her increasing the threat of getting Lyme disease by moving into a tick endemic community and her making herself vulnerable as a result of not just the stresses of moving, but the physical stresses of engaging in HIIT exercise, put her in a position where she became chronically ill pretty quickly after she was bitten by a tick. So folks, this is an example of what's happening all over the world, but it has a compressed timeline, and I think it's a really valuable podcast, and we're really excited to introduce to you Balance is Key. Hello, Rose, and welcome to the Tick Bootcamp podcast.
Hello.
So we're really excited to have you on the podcast for a lot of different reasons, and I should share with our listeners that you and I have a lot in common. We both have connections to the Bronx. You spent most of your childhood in the Bronx, and I was born in the Bronx, and we also have connections to the state of Pennsylvania. In fact, the community that you're now living in, which is Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. So talk to folks about what your journey was like to Pennsylvania. Where were you born, and what was it like to grow up in the Bronx, New York?
Yes, I was born in the Dominican Republic, and then I came to the Bronx when I was 11 years old. And I grew up in there with my parents. I went to school, college, and everything in there. And then when I got married, I still live in the Bronx for a few more years. And then recently, 4 years ago, my husband bought a house here in the PA, Stroudsburg area. To me, since I was from the Dominican Republic, moving to Stroudsburg wasn't like a big change because I'm not a city person. Like, I never liked the noise of the Bronx. Like, I didn't like the city stuff. So like when I moved over here, for me, it wasn't like a big change. It was like I feel like I always belong here because I love nature. And it's, later we're going to talk about how like you love nature, but then you are now kind of afraid of nature. So it was like very traumatic. But yes, like I love how quiet it is, how you wake up and you only hear the birds. And I just love it here.
Well, congratulations, and I'm happy you finally found a place where you have the kind of environment that is causing you to be healthy and happy. But there is a little but to that story, but we'll get there in a minute. So talk to us about what it was like to grow up in the Dominican Republic. What was the DR like during your childhood?
It was the best, so much that I always pray to God that I get to like move back there before I go to heaven. Because it was just like perfect. I don't remember any trauma as a child, like any sad stuff. It was just like so perfect. You grew up in your backyard, you play with mud, you have animals, nature, river. Like where I'm from, we have like a lot of it's very touristic there. So we have like a lot of beaches, like so beautiful, the river, like everything's so close by. You don't have to like drive long hours. So trees like mango, avocado. I love avocado. So I would just go in the back and get like avocado, mango, fresh, things. And that's what I want to do, like move back and have a farm and like grow my own things.
So Rose, you had this very, it was almost like a paradise existence when you were living in the Dominican Republic. And I'm wondering whether or not part of that paradise was baseball. Baseball is one of the most powerful exports from the Dominican Republic. So was baseball a big part of your life?
So actually, I remember when, I don't know if you know about like las águilas ibaeñas, like there's this big thing like in the Dominican Republic when they playing like the people from the capital and the people from like the countryside. So I remember like my grandma would used to put on and tell us that, oh, you are from this side, and we would just be like, ah, yeah, okay, but I like it wasn't like something, like that I enjoy or love. But I have cousins and brothers that they actually play baseball and they really like.
So now I'll stop teasing you about baseball a little bit and now talk to you about what it was like to be a child in the Dominican Republic and spending so much time out in nature. Were there any dangers that you had to be aware of? Were you concerned about snakes? Were you concerned about any types of animals? And I guess most importantly, were you concerned about ticks when you were a child in the Dominican Republic?
Actually, no. There were no such things as being concerned about anything over there. Only one thing: tarantulas. Oh,
Okay. So,
yeah.
so tarantulas were a problem for you. So you had these big spiders that you were concerned about, right? And so you were generally aware of tarantulas, but other than that, as a child in the Dominican Republic, where you were living in paradise and taking mangoes off the tree and living in close proximity to the beach, you just had nothing to worry about.
Yes, nothing. Actually, I mean, we grew up with mosquito biting us, so that wasn't anything either. And you said ticks. There was no such things as ticks as far as I, can remember.
Okay, so now let's talk about immigrating to the U.S. and ultimately moving to the borough of the Bronx, the only borough in New York City that begins with the. What was it like for you to go from living in this very natural environment to now living in sort of a concrete jungle?
Yes. Well, it was, I don't know. I had my moments where I became like a different type of person, like more quiet, not as happy. Like you said, all of a sudden coming into the cold. I remember when I came, there was a big, huge snowstorm where we actually had like an accident in the airplane. I just remember people screaming and it was, yeah, really bad. And we had to actually land on another airplane, like emergency. And when we landed, we had to like, it wasn't like, when you go through a cabin, like to go inside. This one we had to step outside in the snow. It was like very traumatic. And then, to come here, like you said, just to live in like 4 walls, it was big, huge difference. But, I guess we all get, accustomed to things. So I got used to it, then I started going to school, taking the yellow bus by myself and things like that.
So Rose, what was the experience like when you came here to the US, and what did you start to dream and think about? Meaning, what were your goals and what were your dreams when you were growing up in the Bronx?
I always wanted to be I wanted to be a model and I wanted to be an actress. So I remember when I was in high school, I participated in like groups where we did acting things and modeling. Yeah, and that was my dream.
All right, so talk to us about what you majored in college, and what was your goal when you went to college?
So obviously I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I went to college and did business administration. And then I ended up working in a hospital as an administrative assistant. And I worked in the hospital for many, many, many years until the hospital closed. Then I went back to school for ultrasound technician. And I graduated from that. Then I was working as ultrasound tech. Then my third child, which is now 15, at that time she was 5 years old. She was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And my world just flipped and changed for the good and for the bad, because that's when I became like a health freak, holistic freak. Like my life changed totally. So she was 5 years old and she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So I had to quit my job and take care of her, because it was like, as soon as she wake up, I have to check her blood sugar. I have to inject her. I was preparing her meals, taking her to school. They would call me from school like a lot of times. So I couldn't keep, working. Thank God, I had a husband who provided until now. And, because I basically had to, take care of her. And that was one of the, when we say everything, God turns the bad into good. That's why helped me to become healthier. Like you said before about reading a lot of books online, I read everything on diabetes, try so many things to look for a cure. Unfortunately, there's no cure for type 1, but there's a lot of things you can do to keep her good and healthy, which I have. And I think that she has learned. Like now she also work out, which, she learned from me. Imagine if I didn't went into this holistic, healthy journey, what was she gonna learn, But I taught her how to eat, how to stay active, how to stay healthy, give her certain supplements for that. And thank God she's doing good.
So Rose, I understand as a result of you now focusing on and dedicating your life to making sure that your daughter would be a healthy person, despite the type 1 diabetes that she was diagnosed with, that ultimately developed into a passion for you, and you became a personal trainer and a health and fitness coach. So talk about how that became a transformational moment for you professionally.
Yes. So yes, because of her getting this, I just started learning a lot about health, and I just started going to the gym to work out, I guess, to get my mind off things. And it just became part of my life. Like, I just loved how I felt when I was working out, and the benefits that was giving me in my body too. Like, it was changing. Think I had no health, no health problems. I was, very healthy. And then I was like, I want to help people. Like, I want people to be healthy. Like, I just want people to be healthy, to feel good, to find cure to whatever they're going through. And so I started doing my, I took NASM for a personal training license. And then I also met this girl at the gym who's now has it's called AI 30 Challenge. And I am one of the coaches there. And we teach, especially women, we teach them how to have a healthy lifestyle. It's not like a diet for like a month or two, because we know consistencies is what shows in the long run. So you cannot eat healthy for one day and work out for one day and then, oh, I'm healthy and that's it. No, you have to be consistent. So it's a group, of women. We come together, we, motivate them. We show them like how to have a lifestyle, like how to be happy with food and working out so they can become better and be there for their family in the long run. Because nowadays we know most of people die because of obesity and chronic diseases, and a lot of them can be avoided if you have a healthy lifestyle.
So now let's take the next step forward in your life and talk about your move out of the Bronx in the concrete jungle into now a new environment, right? You were yearning for a life where there was more peace and quiet, where you could be more in touch with nature. You wanted to find a place that was very much like what you remembered having grown up with in the Dominican Republic, and your family moves to Pennsylvania. And I'm wondering, before you made the decision to move to Pennsylvania, did you know that the state that has the greatest number of Lyme disease cases is the state of Pennsylvania?
I had no idea. Like I said, I didn't know what Lyme was. I never heard of Lyme disease before. It's crazy. I had no idea of Lyme. I had no idea of ticks, nothing.
But that's the next thing I want to talk to you about, because although I was born in the Bronx, I moved out to Long Island as a young child. My family moved out to Long Island, and we were always aware of ticks. My entire life, I was aware of ticks. I'm wondering, as somebody who grew up in the Bronx, whether you were at least aware of ticks as part of either your educational experience or any of the cultural experiences that you had in the Bronx.
No, I wasn't aware of ticks. I never heard anyone talk about ticks. No, ticks. Like, I had to Google that because I never even heard. Sometimes you probably say, "Oh, I heard about it." Like, but I didn't pay attention. But no, I didn't hear anything about it. Like, ticks wasn't part of. Yeah, I don't. How were you aware of it? Like.
Well, because everybody was getting bitten by ticks during our childhood. I mean, it was we had ticks on us all the time. We had ticks on our dogs all the time. It was just a big part of what we knew about it. It was in the newspapers. I don't remember receiving any educational information about it either in high school or elementary school, or certainly not in college, which I didn't go to college on Long Island. But yeah, it was just a big part of our lives. We actually had a tick kit that was right in our mudroom. We walked into our house and there was a tick kit on a shelf where we would be removing ticks from ourselves or from our dogs. So it was a big part of our lives. And I'm a bit older than you, so this predates even your childhood, Rose, when you moved to the Bronx. So now you moved to Pennsylvania, right? And you're back in paradise. And you now have this experience where you can now enjoy nature and you have a less toxic environment, which of course is important to you, not only because you yearn to be back in touch with nature because of your memories of as a child in the Dominican Republic, but of course you're now a mom. You have several children. You have a child with diabetes who you're helping to manage her diabetes. So you want your whole family to have a more healthy environment to live in, right?
Yes.
But, and here's the big but, right? There were some dangers that came along with moving to a more rural environment. And were you aware of any dangers? You did share with us that you did not know anything about ticks, and you did not know that Pennsylvania has the greatest number of Lyme disease cases in the U.S. when you moved there 4 years ago. But were there any other dangers that you were concerned about when you were now going out and having your experiences out in nature and your children are now playing outside? Were there any concerns about anything that could happen in nature, whether it be bears or snakes or anything like that?
Yes, only bear. That was the only thing, I would hear people say they'll go into their backyard. But we moved like it's not so much like in the Poconos area, like in the mountains. We are more like near the city, so we don't get bears.
Okay. So you really didn't have any concerns for your children when they were going out and playing in nature. You didn't have any concerns for yourself when you're now having this more natural experience, and instead of just going to the gym and you can go out and run, and you can go out and you could detoxify out in nature, and you could go out and ground because you have a lot of places where you could walk barefoot in the ground. So you're having this much more toxic-free environment for yourself and your husband and your children. And then one day, you see a bullseye ring on your leg. So talk to us about that.
Yes. I also get deers in my backyard.
All right. So when
Yes.
when you're seeing all the deer in your backyard and they're beautiful animals, I have them in my yard as well. I went running this morning and I saw a beautiful deer and a beautiful baby deer, and it was really a cool thing to see. But of course, I look at them like, oh no, you're bringing ticks into my backyard, right? So when you were seeing all the deer in your yard, anybody say to you, hey, we have a lot of deer, you got to be really careful because they bring ticks with them?
Yes. No, had no idea still. I seen the deers in my backyards and I just saw them like any, I didn't see any, how do you say that word? That they were
A threat?
a threat to us, right? Yeah, I had no idea they carried ticks. I just saw them. I'm like, they're so beautiful, not knowing anything about it. So I have a big backyard. I love gardening. So I'm assuming this happened while I was out there, in my garden doing things. The funny thing is that I have never seen a tick. I have never seen a tick. Like not even in my backyard or around my house on us. Like I have never seen one. Even now, until now, I haven't seen ticks. Like I don't know where that came from, but
So Rose, I think that's an important point for us to focus on for a minute, right? Because ticks
yeah.
are so small, they're very difficult to see, right? It's one of the reasons why they're so good at doing their job of
Yeah.
crawling on us, biting us, sucking blood from us for days, and then leaving us, and we never know about it. In most cases, with people who have Lyme disease, they never knew they were bitten by a tick. Why? Because they are a very sophisticated vector. And very much like the tarantulas you were afraid of when you were in the Dominican Republic, they're in the same family, right? They're arachnids, and they're in the same family, and they're very, very sophisticated at hiding, and they're hard to see. And of course, as visual beings, human beings gather 70% of the information that we gather through our eyes. We are largely visual beings, and because they're so small, and our vision is largely designed to see movement, and ticks move so slowly, we wouldn't even pick them up. You wouldn't have even seen it, right? I mean, you wouldn't have even seen the tick, and most people never do when they get sick. So that's no surprise, right? So you were not aware of a tick. You were not looking for ticks. You didn't check yourself for ticks. You're out in the yard. There are deer all over the place. Clearly ticks all over the place. Lyme disease all over Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And you now have a bullseye ring on your leg. And what do you do when you see the bullseye ring on your leg?
So when I first saw it, that part was red. It looks like something bit me. What came to my mind was, oh, it's a mosquito bite. And, I was scratching and just put a lot of stuff, bentonite clay, charcoal, things to suck out the toxins, although I didn't know what bit me. But, as a holistic person, that's the things I will, run to. Then it wasn't going away. And, the next day it was just still there. And then it just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was hurting to the touch, and it felt warm to the touch. And I remember I wasn't, like worry about it, like, because it takes a long time for me to go to the emergency room. So my neighbors saw it, and what I find like a little bit ironic is she had gotten bitten by ticks before, but she will see them and she will take them off. She will go to the doctor, they'll give her something, and she never got Lyme, she's fine. But when she saw my mark, she said, oh, you should go to the emergency room. That looks like cellulitis. I'm like, oh, okay. You should. Yeah. She was like, yes, you should go to the emergency room. and checked it. I'm like, okay. So because of her, I went to the emergency room, and that's what they told me too. In the emergency room, they said, oh, that's cellulitis, an infection of the skin. They gave me antibiotics for an infection of the skin, not Lyme. And I was like, okay. I mean, me, again, not knowing anything about it. If I knew, I would, fight and do other things like no. But I left. I took the antibiotics. I followed up with my doctor because my leg became like more very dark, like as if, I was gonna lose my legs or something like that. So I got very scared. So I went back to my doctor, followed up with him. And he was like, oh, just follow the ER direction. Like they said, it's just cellulitis. Just finish your antibiotics, you'll be fine. I was like, are you sure? He was like, yes, don't worry, you're gonna be fine. I was like, okay.
So
So
Rose, let me ask you to pause there for a second. When you went to the emergency room and they gave you antibiotics, do you know what type of antibiotics they gave you? And was it a cream or was it oral antibiotics that you were taking?
it was oral antibiotics. I do not recall the name of those. It was cycline. Yeah, it was an antibiotic for an infection of the skin.
Now, do they give you any cream to put on the skin? Meaning, in many cases, what happens is when people have a rash, they'll be given a steroid-based cream. Did they give you any cream or anything like that to put on the rash?
No, they did not give me any cream, just the pills.
Thank goodness. Okay, no steroids. So we know that they're immunosuppressive, and that would have, of course, been bad if that had happened. So thank goodness you didn't. So. Okay, Rose. So now, I just want to build out where you are from a fitness standpoint and from a health standpoint, because although you've had this challenge that you've had to deal with as a mother with your child being diagnosed with diabetes, type 1 diabetes, but that actually had a positive impact on you and your family because you're now living a very clean life, right? You're eating really cleanly, you're working out. You're in a supportive environment where you're training other women and other women are supporting you. So you have a healthy community of people that you're interacting with. You're now living in a less toxic environment where you have a lot of clean air and fresh air and all kinds of opportunities. So Rose is really a very healthy person, right? But now when you get this bite, despite having this very healthy and certainly less than vulnerable body, right? You're very healthy. You're starting to get sick and you're continuing to get sick. So talk to us about how, despite being very fit and living very healthily, that this tick bite rash that you didn't know was from a tick at the time starts to progressively get worse.
Yes. So after that, I finished my antibiotics and the mark clears out. So I was like, yay, it was nothing, I'm fine. 2 months later, exactly 2 months later, I wake up with my left ankle where I was bitten, swollen out of nowhere. Me, as a trainer, I work out, I was like, oh, did I probably, there's something wrong at the gym, maybe, I was like, I put some ice. I didn't pay more attention to it. I was limping, it was hurting, but I didn't think anything was wrong, like a huge thing coming. At that time, I was training a group of girls, and I would go and train them like this. And my ankle was hurting and I was in pain, and I would still like jump on it and train. And then I just kept putting ice, and I just saw that my ankle wasn't getting any better. Then the pain started escalating. It was coming up my legs all the way up to my hips. So at night I would like be in pain and I would turn and turn, and but still I'm not thinking nothing, nothing is wrong with me. I'm like, this pain, maybe sciatica, not paying any mind to it. Then my lymph nodes in my groin area, and I'm talking, all this is happening in my left leg where I was bitten. My lymph nodes on my groin area got very swollen. I was in pain every day. I was almost in bed almost every day. I would like cry. I still not going to the sick medical advisor or anything like that. There was something that would go away. Then my mom was pushing me like, oh, you are so hard-headed. You have to go to the emergency room. I'm like, Mom, they're not going to do anything. It will go away. And she was like, no, you've been like that for a long time now. Just go. I go to the emergency room where I went when I had the mark, and they run every single test that you can think of. X-ray, MRI, blood, urine, like everything. They come back. The doctor comes back and tells me, we don't find anything wrong with you at all. And then something that surprises me, and until today, I think about it, like, why this doctor decided to do a Lyme test? I have no idea. But he was like, we don't find anything wrong, but I'm just gonna do a Lyme test and see. I was like, I'm still don't know what is Lyme. I still don't know what ticks are. I don't know anything. I was just there like, okay. I go home and I think it was 2-3 days later, I decided to go to New York thinking, oh, they probably know better over there. And I go to the emergency room again because I was like feeling really bad. I was like, oh no, like something's wrong and these people couldn't find out. So let me go to New York. So I went to New York to the emergency room. Same thing, they did all tests. And I think these people thought I was crazy. And they was like, oh, you don't have anything. You can go home. I was like, can at least I get a crutches? Because I cannot walk. And, they looked at me like I was crazy. Like they didn't believe me. They were like, okay, just give her some crutches. Like she can just go home. And yeah, and they gave me crutches. I walked out of there limping in pain. I got to my mom's house in New York, and the next day they called me from here, from PA, and they told me, oh, hi, you have Lyme disease. We are going to send you antibiotic. That's it, just take them. Okay. I'm like, okay.
So let's before Matt takes you through the rest of that portion of your journey, I want to talk to you about what was going on in your life between the time that you had the tick bite and the time that you had now all of the arthritic symptoms that were developing in your leg, right? So you were very fit at that time in your life, right? And as you are now, if anybody goes on to your Instagram, they can see you're very athletic, you're very fit, you're a very healthy person. So you were a very fit person at that time. So my question is, what was going on in that window of time between the time that you were bitten and the time that you had gotten sick that may have been immunocompromising, right? Because it's pretty rare for someone to go from being acutely ill to being chronically ill unless they get bitten by many ticks, or they're living in an immunocompromising environment, like there's mold in their house, or they're living in a high mold environment, or perhaps there were stresses in your life, and I want to talk to you about the gym in a minute, but was anything like that going on in your life? Were there any emotional stresses or anything particularly challenging going on in your life in that window between the tick bite and the time that you became so sick?
can can you like elaborate a little bit? I don't
Yeah.
understand the
So I'm just trying to figure out why somebody so fit may not have been able to manage the tick bite bacterium, right? So let's talk about the gym for a minute, right? Because there is an upside and a downside to fitness as well, right? Because one of the things we sometimes talk about on this podcast is exercising to serve you versus exercising for appearance, right? Or
yes.
exercising to serve you, and sometimes exercising too rigorously, right? And we talk about the gym culture, where people are going to the gym not because they're looking to engage in activities that are going to serve them. They're going to the gym because they want to look good, right? So,
Yeah.
so what kind of exercise were you engaging in that window of time? And do you think it's possible that you were working out too rigorously and perhaps engaging in immunocompromising exercises?
Yes. So, wow, that's very interesting that you talk about this. I like being challenged, like I like hit. So, of course, this is something I always talk about. Like before, I know we all, mostly women, get in the gym because we want to look good. But then as time went by, and this is something I teach my girls, fitness is so much more than just looking good. And I learned that, I learned the hard way. So before, I would like do crazy things, hit cardio, like I would jump, I would uh work my body, I guess, too much. For nothing, just to do crazy things. Um I was uh doing too much. I was a little bit more slimmer, too slim. Like I look at pictures back and I look at myself, I was too shredded, which is something's not good for women. We need fat. It's especially for our hormones to work properly. Um, so I think at that time, yes, when I got the Lyme, I think my body wasn't as strong as it should be on the inside, because sometimes we focus on outer strength, and outer strength doesn't mean inner strength. And I probably was, going through also like financial marital stress, everything together. It was, I had an older daughter too who had recently left the house. So, I during that time, I did went through like a lot of stress. I was sad. I would cry every day, family stuff. So yes, I think I am positive that stress contributes so much to our health, because I remember when I got like so sick, I decided to go back to the Dominican Republic. And when I went back there, like 2 or 3 weeks later, I was fine, because I was just stress free, I guess. But that's something. Then when I came back here, I started working more on how to manage stress, because stress is huge when we are, dealing with other sickness.
So, Rose, we here at Tech Bootcamp talk about risk all the time, the risk of Lyme disease, right? And we use general Stanley McChrystal's definition for risk, which is threat times vulnerability, right? And so the reason I'm asking you the questions about all the things that were going on in your life is because the threat of you getting Lyme disease increased substantially by you moving into a tick endemic community, right? You were in a place where there were a lot of ticks, so the threat went up. But you probably would have been fine had you not also had the vulnerability, because in most cases, when people are bitten by ticks, their body's able to manage the bacteria, except if there is some vulnerabilities. And it sounds to me like you were both physically and emotionally vulnerable at the time that you were bitten by the tick. You were engaging in high intensity interval training, which is we do know is going to reduce your T cell count, and it is going to be physically stressful. You had just moved from one place to another, and there are always going to be stresses adjusting to a new environment, even though it was something you wanted to do for your family. Moves are going to be stressful. It's just a natural part of it, especially for a mom who's now moving all of her children to another community and trying to make sure that there's a safe environment for her family. You had the natural stresses of managing a child who has a medical disability. And now, of course, we now have another piece of this, which is you have an older child who is now creating the stresses that children often create for us, right? And all of that comes together at the same time that you suffer the tick bite, and now you become very sick, right? And you go from being a high intensity interval training coach to now having swollen ankles, swollen knees, swollen legs, swollen lymph nodes, needing crutches to walk from place to place, to get from place to place, right? That's how extreme you go in a 2-month window.
Yes, 2 months. And then my health just started declining. I had to stop working out because the fatigue was insane.
So Rose, before you go there, I just want to talk about one more thing with you, because Matt is going to take you through that part of your journey. Let's talk about now, fitness, right? I mean, you're a fitness professional, right? And you were somebody who was overly invested in a certain fitness protocol, HIIT, high intensity interval training. And one of the things we also like to talk about here on Tick Boot Camp is the inverted U, where too much of a good thing can be bad, right? Where we do something and it gives us this benefit, and then it sort of plateaus for a while, and then when we get too extreme, and again, you did admit to us that you were a little too extreme, you were a little too shredded, you were more interested in how you looked on the outside rather than you feeling the inside, and then it starts to hurt us, right? And that's why it becomes that inverted U where we're going down, right? So it's important for us to have this conversation on this podcast, because we learned from Dr. Joseph Burrascano that if you do not move, you will not heal from Lyme disease. That's one of the things that he observed very early on, and then we've seen this repeatedly since we learned that, or we were taught that by Dr. Burrascano. But of course, that movement has to have balance. It has to be movement that serves you, not movement that is too extreme. So talk to us about that as a fitness professional, and how that was unfortunately a painful lesson you had to learn on this journey.
Yes. It was painful. Imagine, like you said, you are so active, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, you need to stay still. You can't move. And the way you put it now, it just comes to my mind, like everything always happened for a reason. And, maybe it was God telling me, okay, girl, you need to slow down. And I did. I started to transform my thought into, yes, working out is good, but like you said, we can I preach this to my girls now all the time. Too much of something, even water, too much water, it's bad for you. So balance is key. And I learned, now, I work out once a week or twice, and I listen to my body. If I'm, feel sore or tired, and I'm doing better than ever. Like working out once or twice a week, low impact movement with weights, nothing crazy, no more crazy stuff, no more crazy workouts. And I just feel the difference is huge.
So Rose, what I'm seeing here is you were extremely sick within a 2-month window. You were basically unable to walk. You go to the hospital and they tell you you're totally fine, go home, right? Before 1 week later, when you get the phone call about Lyme disease. And too many of us have been there. I mean, I have been there as well. You go to the hospital with debilitating symptoms. And in your case, they did blood work, they did an x-ray, they did a CAT scan, every single test they can possibly think of. And they said to you, Rose, you're okay, go home and you're going to get better. I mean, did you actually believe them? Because some of this is such a it messes with your mind when you have medical professionals telling you one thing that so drastically conflicts with how you feel. So how did you feel when you left the hospital? Were you doubting if you were really sick, or were you like, these guys are idiots, I have to find out what's going on here?
So unfortunately, I know how the health system works nowadays. It's not good. Because of my trajectory with my daughter with diabetes, I learned so much. So of course I did not believe them, and I just started doing my own search. So I'm like, okay. I left, went home, and when they told me it was Lyme, so which it was, thank God. I thank God it was good, because imagine me going home. Oh, you're fine, you don't have anything. Okay, so now what am I going to do? I don't even have a diagnosis, but thank God I had one. So now I know to to just do my own thing. Unfortunately, that's what a lot of us had to do, and just become my own doctor. And I just started learning what was Lyme, first of all, because I had no idea. So that was my first thing, to learn about Lyme disease. And then I went on to learn all these different type of natural cures.
So Rose, you told Rich that you didn't really know what Lyme was before getting diagnosed. So a week after leaving the hospital, you get the phone call from the ER. They tell you have Lyme disease. They say, we're giving you 21 days of doxycycline and you're going to get better. Did you believe that? And when you started to research Lyme disease after getting the diagnosis, did your views change?
I did kind of believe them at first. I'm like, okay. But then when I started searching, I was like, oh, okay, no, this is not good. This is not gonna, this is not gonna do it. This is not gonna cut it. But, I kept, then I joined a lot of Facebook Lyme group, and a lot of people, were saying, just take the doxy, but it's not gonna be enough. They should give you more. But then I asked for more. You know how it is. They're not gonna give you more. I did take them, and I did feel better when I took them for that period of time. But then I learned that it's because the bacteria produces some type of protection, and they hide during that time. And I guess that's what they did, because after I took the antibiotics, like a few days later, then I started getting sick again.
And I think you were quoted as saying, shortly after being done with the antibiotics, the nightmare began, correct? And that was your experience?
Yes.
So you had this temporary relief. You thought, wow, maybe the doctors were right. Maybe I am better. And then in the back of your mind, you knew what you were researching, and you kind of were doubting it, right? And then all of a sudden, a few days later, it hits. So walk us through this crash again after the antibiotics. What symptoms came back, and did you develop any new symptoms?
I started to, yes, I did develop new symptoms. The pain in the ankle was gone. It never came back, never got swollen again. But my leg was starting to hurt again. Then I was getting this pressure behind my forehead. Then my back was hurting, like, not pain, it was like burning, like, I don't know how to explain that feeling. It's just horrible. Then I started to have stomach issue, like I felt like I had a monster inside my stomach. I had a record of how my stomach sound. It's so scary. I would literally sit in my bed and just sit there and cry, and just waiting for my stomach to, like, something feel better, go away. But it just, this stomach pain, nauseous, I wasn't eating. I was having insomnia because of course, all this pain going through my body. I wasn't able to sleep well. I started getting depressed, anxiety, you know, thoughts of I don't want to be alive anymore. This is not life. Yeah, trying to see what other symptoms, but those were like the most crazy symptoms I had.
Well, that's certainly a lot of symptoms, right? I mean, so you went from being this healthy, athletic person to getting your leg was hurting, it was swollen, you couldn't walk, to then developing all these new symptoms that were far more than just leg-driven symptoms, right? This is when I believe the chronic illness part of Lyme disease kicked in for you, right? Your body just couldn't take it anymore, and your immune system shut down, and all of these pathogens in your body came out and made you very, very sick, right? So what did you do? I mean, now you're this sick. It must have been scary. Did you go back to the hospital? Did you contact your doctors? I mean, the symptoms are different than what you had before with Lyme, right? With the leg pain, but it's shortly after the antibiotics. So what do you do, and what did the doctor say?
Yes. I did not went back to my doctor at that time. Sorry. Because of all the things that I was learning, about it. I knew that they were not going to do anything, so why waste my time going to them? Especially he felt me the first time. Like, he's a doctor, he in PA, he should have known better about that bull eyes rash. Like, other doctors in New York saw it. Like, a friend of mine, she's a doctor over there, and she was like, oh my God, that is so clear. I don't know how he could have missed it. I was angry. I was like mad at him. I mean, until now, I haven't gone back to my doctor. I stay away from them because I felt like they were not gonna help. So I just started doing my own stuff, searching, learning, and I came across a lot of people saying to go to a Lyme disease literally, like someone.
Oh, a Lyme literate medical doctor, LLMD, right?
Yes, yes, to search for one doctor that specializes in Lyme. So I found one here in PA. I went to see him. They did some test with like a machine that does electrical pulses to you, and then they came up with like I have some mold, and the bacteria Bartonella, a lot of like a list of things that I had, and then he came up with a regimen of herbal medicines. So for each thing that I had to buy a kit of herbal medicine to treat it. I think I did two. But I wasn't feeling any better, and it's okay because they say before you get better, you're gonna feel worse, I guess. But then I also couldn't afford it. So I had to stop. I stopped just taking all those stuff. I stopped going over there too. And then I decided to go to the Dominican Republic.
Hey, Rose, before you go to the Dominican Republic, when you went to this Lyme literate doctor in Pennsylvania, and he did this testing, it sounds like, was this muscle testing? Was that the name of the testing that he did? Do you know? What kind of test? You said he put like things on your skin, right? What was the testing like that he performed to identify that you had Bartonella in addition to Lyme disease and you had mold? What was that testing he did for you?
Is it raffle machine? No. I don't think it was muscle.
Like energy testing, muscle testing.
It has to do with your energy, yes, because he would put like something electrical here in my fingers, and then that would transmit into the machine. So I remember posting something on Facebook about it. I forgot the name of the machine. And then I was like, I can't believe this machine can tell a doctor that you have all this stuff by just touching my body. In this case was my finger with an electrical thing, and then that will transfer into electricity, and if it goes up or down, whatever, it will let you know what you have. So a lot of people were like, oh yes, it works, because I was a little skeptical, like how would that, tell him so much info.
Do you recall anything else that popped? It was Lyme disease, Bartonella, and mold. Were there any other things that came up positive during this test?
Parasites. What else? Parasites, mold. Yeah, that's all I can recall for now.
And the herbal medicine he gave you for each of these, you started taking, you got a little bit worse, which was to be expected, but then you discontinued it. You stopped it because you couldn't afford it. And then you decided to go to the Dominican Republic, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So at this point, it sounds like you're still pretty sick, and probably more sick because of the herbs that you were on from the herxing from it. And now you go down to the Dominican Republic. So walk us through, did you go to the Dominican Republic because it would be more cost effective and cheaper to treat there? What was your thought process about going to the DR and leaving Pennsylvania?
Yes. So I have an aunt over there, and she's a doctor. So, she have access to certain things like IV antibiotic, which was something I heard a lot of people used and got better. Although we know antibiotics, is contradicted because they could be good or also bad for you. But I was like, I was feeling so sick. I was like almost couldn't get up from my bed. I said I had to do something. So I went to the Dominican Republic because, it was going to be, of course, cheaper. And then over here, I couldn't find anywhere where I could do like IV antibiotics. I did find a place where I could do IV therapy with vitamins, but they were extremely expensive. Like only one of them was $250. So I go to the Dominican Republic. My aunt, I saw one of the best doctor. Jesus, forgot his he's in no.
Is he in New York?
No, he's in doctor in the Dominican Republic that specializes
Is he like a naturopathic doctor in the DR?
No. What's the name of the other doctor when we have like Lyme, they tell you to go see?
Oh, infectious disease.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So this is a infectious disease doctor in the Dominican Republic. He's very like famous, like top doctor, very good. So my aunt gets me an appointment with him. Same day I arrive, we just go over there. And when I tell him everything about it, he just told my aunt, okay, first check her heart to see if she will be able to tolerate the IV antibiotics. And then gave her, told me to take some pills to be able to sleep, and then some other pills to be able to control the body ache. And then he says, this is something that has no cure. So she would just have to find things to be able to manage it. Like taking pills to sleep, taking pills for pain, and things like that. I'm like, okay. So we checked my heart. My heart was in perfect condition. Thank God. It was good. So my aunt started the IV antibiotics. And 2 weeks, I came back to life. I'm like, oh, miracle, I thought. She also did IV with vitamin C and B complex IV as well. I was there for 3 weeks, and I just started feeling better. I love the sun. I took a lot of sun, walk in the beach, and I thought I was cured.
So you felt 100% normal again at this point. You were fully recovered temporarily after the IV antibiotics.
Yes.
And now this is despite the fact that the infectious disease doctor is telling your aunt, hey, look, this is not something easy. It's something that we're going to have to manage. It can't really be cured. But now here you are thinking you are cured, right? So there's sort of a conflict here already, right?
Yes.
And do you recall the type of IV antibiotic it was? Was it Rosefin? Was it, I think ceftriaxone is the generic name, or, do you recall any of the details about the IVs?
I don't. No.
And it was just a few weeks though before you started to feel better.
Yes, like 2 weeks.
Now, your aunt is a doctor in the DR, and she was consulting with an infectious disease doctor, correct?
Yes.
When you left and you were feeling really well, what was the information given to you by your aunt and the infectious disease doctor? Were they telling you, oh, maybe you are cured, maybe we were wrong? Or were they cautioning you, saying, hey, look, you may get sick again? What was the message you were being given before you left to come back to Pennsylvania?
So by the doctor, none. I mean, he told her, oh, let me know how it goes. We did tell him, but he never got back to us. So from him, we didn't hear anything from him. My aunt, this is to her, and for them over there too, is they have no idea. So, it's sad, and I know many of us go through this with family, especially if they don't know. Some people in my family started saying that I was exaggerating, that I wasn't sick, that I just wanted my husband to send me here to DR, that I just wanted to come. The things I heard, it was just insane, that it was mental. Oh, you have to stop thinking about that you're sick. They will also tell me, oh, you have no faith, you don't believe in Jesus, you are healed already. You shouldn't think about that. You're healed. He healed you already. Where's your faith? And of course, all this thing will make me even more sick.
So all this negative energy and people around you, friends, family, saying that it's all in your head, you're healed already, you don't have enough faith in Jesus, and all of that's taking a toll on you emotionally, which in turn is weakening your immune system, right? So it's creating mental anguish. You're now becoming stressed because you're doubting yourself. People that you love and trust are saying these negative things to you, and it's making you sicker on top of being sick with Lyme disease, Bartonella, mold illness, and parasites, correct?
Yes.
So you were being gaslit, essentially.
Yes.
So, I hate to ask the question, but you come back from the DR and you're in your mind cured, right? You're feeling better. What happens next? I mean, unfortunately, I don't think that lasts, right?
Yes, no. So I lasted about 5 months that I was feeling a lot better. And then again, I must say stress contributed to me getting like more sick again. So again, and then the winter, which I'm now like a little, because I've been feeling like 90%, but winter is coming soon. So I don't know. I hope I don't crash again. But yes, at that time when I come back from DR, 5 months, I'm doing good. Then winter is coming in. I started to getting sick again.
But Rose, before winter, were you starting to engage in the same activities as before you were sick? Meaning, were you over exercising again? Were you overexerting yourself? Were you putting a lot of stress on your body and on your mind? Were you doing things that you think, now looking back, were potentially unhealthy and contributed to the symptoms returning?
Yes, since I thought I was cured and I was fine, I went back to the gym and I was, working out again a little bit too much. And yeah, because I thought I was fine. Well, I was trying to push my body because the fatigue that I was feeling, like I would start working out and then I would feel so much out of breath. So I was trying to push my body and I would just say in my mind, you can overcome this. Just do a little bit more so you can overcome the fatigue.
So mind over matter. You were trying to say, I can push through this and I can break the fatigue, but the fatigue was a warning sign from your body saying, hey, something's going on here, right? So that was a sign, but you were trying to push through it and fight through it, thinking you were healed.
Yes.
So now winter's approaching, you're starting to not feel good again. What symptoms start to return, in the short term, and then what symptoms return in the long term?
I started getting the same symptoms again, like the head pressure, the back pain, my stomach again, insomnia, not sleeping well. Yeah, just same symptoms.
Rose, give us just sort of a timeline here. So, right, so you were 39 when you first got bit and diagnosed. How long ago was that when you were first bit? How many years ago was that?
2 years.
Okay, so that was 2 years ago. So now when we're talking about the winter, are we talking about this last winter that just passed, or the winter of 2021 into 2022? Is that what the winter we're talking about?
Yes, the one
Okay.
that, yes.
So it was last summer, you're in the DR, you come back, you think you're cured, winter approaches this past winter, and now you're getting sick again. So we're pretty much, almost into 2022, the current year. When you get sick again, it sounds like, knowing you, if I had to guess, you did not go to a doctor, but you went to Dr. Google again, which has, a ton of great information, and consulting other people on social media that have Lyme disease. What are your next steps now to start to address your symptoms as they're coming back this past winter?
So I started again, like you said, researching. So I went into this protocol thing. I started doing coffee enemas. I started to drink this doctor from Venezuela that I found on Instagram that a friend referred me to. So I found a protocol he has for parasites, which is raw carrots juice, juicing raw carrots, cold press, and drinking that with 5 drops of oil of oregano. So 8-ounce cup carrot juice with 5 drops of oil of oregano on an empty stomach every morning. After that, I would do coffee enemas. Then I was doing sauna, red light therapy. I started doing that every day. I saw a lot of things coming out of my body. Weird stuff. Then I started to feel a little bit better, but then I also decided to go back to the Dominican Republic again.
And this is over the winter, or are we now?
This was back in March.
Of this year?
Yes.
Okay. So you were doing some stuff over the winter. You were doing parasite cleanses. You were doing some coffee enemas. You felt a little bit better. You were passing all kinds of weird stuff, and you're like, all right, I'm going to go back to the DR because I'm really not making the progress I want to make. And that was March, correct?
Yes, in March.
Okay. So now when you go back to the DR, what are you doing there differently now this time?
Yes. So I went back and I was there for 2 months. But this time I was like, I'm not doing IV antibiotics. I started to do the vitamin C and the B complex IV still. And then I was introduced to chlorodiaxide. And I started doing that therapy there. And then since then I came back and I have been fine.
Rose, what is chlorodiaxide? So I guess, first of all, what is it? And second, how do you administer it? How do you take that treatment?
Oh, so I should have.
No, you're good. Even if you could just describe for us how how you take it, just so our listeners know, like, is it oral?
Yeah,
is it IV? Is it an enema?
Chlorodiaxide. It's not like the Clorox that we clean with. It has nothing to do with that type of chlorodiaxide. This is a one of those natural cures that are out there that a lot of people don't know and kind of be afraid of by hearing the name. But I was like, I have nothing to lose. I need to do something. And this thing will either kill me or cure me. So it's something, it comes in a bottle, plastic bottle. It's very yellow. And the way it's taken, you get 1 liter of water. And then you're going to get 20 ml of the chlorodiaxide, and you're going to put that little cup into the 1 liter of water. And then you're going to drink that during the day. You can turn it into 8 part or 10 parts. You divide them. I was taking it into 8 parts. So I wake up, I'll take it. Then I'll wait 1 hour to take the other water. This you take every hour. If you eat, you have to wait 1 hour because this only works, why if you eat something, especially something high in antioxidants like orange or lime, it will stop the Jesus.
It'll stop it from being as effective, right?
Your body, yes. So they tell you not to take any of those things during. And if you are, to wait 1 hour and then you continue taking that. So I was doing that like every day. And then I also did it through enema, because they also said you could do that through enema. So same, it was 1 liter of water and then 10 ml of the chlorodiaxide. And I would put that into my enema bag. And I was doing that too because I just wanted to get, faster results. And that's one of the way to get faster results, because they say it's go straight into your liver.
And it's not like this was your game changer, correct?
Yes.
So is it also called chlorine dioxide? Because I'm just kind of doing some Googling here as we're talking. So I think you called it Clorox dioxide. Is it also called chlorine dioxide, or is that something else? Do you know?
I'll tell you right now. Chlorine.
Yeah, I found some hits on chlorine dioxide with Lyme disease, but I just don't know if that's a different treatment or if it's just another name for it.
CBS.
B as in boy, CBS.
CVS. That's the how do you say that? The abbreviation that most of them use, CBS.
Gotcha. So is that C as in Charlie, B as in boy, S?
CVS. as in Charlie, D as in David, and S.
Okay, gotcha. I misheard. So D. Thank you. CDS. My bad on that one. So how quickly did you start to feel better, Rose, after starting this Clorox dioxide or the CDS?
Yes. So that was like 3 weeks. 3 weeks later, I just, well, one thing you need to be aware of is how they call, first, when you start taking this, you're going to get detox.
Like a Herxheimer reaction, so you feel really, really bad almost?
Yes. So
Okay.
having like, yes, I was having migraines. A lot of people get like a lot more symptoms, but I guess my body wasn't as toxic. I think the more toxic your body is, the more, worse symptoms you might get. I was having pain at the bottom of my feet and migraine headaches, but then they went away too.
So this was in March. It took a few weeks for you to get better. When did you stop taking it?
I took it for so I started March, 3 weeks. Then I was there for 2 months. I was there for March, April, and I stopped when I came back here in May.
So really, since the beginning of the summer, it sounds like you've been well. Do you feel like you've reached remission? Are you symptom free? Or are you currently doing anything now to treat?
But this is something that I still keep doing no matter what. I still keep doing my coffee enemas. I still keep using the sauna. I use red light therapy.
But you feel good. So you're symptom free, but you're doing these things for maintenance to make sure you stay good, right?
Yes, just for maintenance. Yes, but I'm feeling like 95%. Like I'm back to the gym, working out too. Not as crazy as before. Now I listen to my body. I just work out 1 or 2 a week and do low impact, weights lifting.
Well, this comes back to the theme you and Rich were talking about earlier, where you said balance is key, right? So now that you're better and you've reached remission, you're still maintaining balance in your life so you don't get sick again and have another relapse. So you're doing all these things to maintain your health, and you're balancing what you're doing in your life, like exercise and stress, to stay healthy, right? So give us an idea of how your life is different now in regards to exercise, diet, family life, stress, etc., so you can maintain this level of health that you've achieved after doing all this treatment for Lyme disease.
Yes. So now I, wake up. Thank God I'm not feeling as tired and drained as before. I'm also able to sleep a lot better. I found this really good magnesium that is helping me tons too. Because that was one of the things that was still like there that I wasn't able to achieve, my insomnia. But it's been now 4 weeks since I started this magnesium, and I'm sleeping a lot better, so I can wake up with more energy. Eating raw food, healthy food, grass-fed food, just a lot of fruits, vegetable, juicing. I go to the gym, like I said, 1 or 2 a week. Not doing HIIT anymore, and don't do like excessive cardio. I'm just listening to my body, trying to manage stress, always putting God first, reading my Bible, meditation, go outside, grounding, getting the sun as much as I can, listening to gospel music. What else? And
So
then,
let's focus on this transformation in a little bit more detail, because this is a really powerful story that you're telling, right? You were you were a mom who went through a transformation when her daughter became sick, and you became someone who became a health and fitness and nutrition enthusiast, so that you could make sure that your daughter was going to have as healthy a life as she could have. And you wanted to model that for her by making those changes in your life.
Yeah.
But then what happened is you got a little too wrapped up in the fitness culture, in the gym culture, and you were more interested in how you looked than how you felt, right? And you were really, the sense that you were using were your eyes rather than how you felt, right? It was, and that was really the biggest transformation for you, right? And of course, you've now brought that into not only your own life, but in the life of the people that you're coaching and training, and you're helping them to, again, go back to use the term that Matt reminded you of, which is balance is the key. That you got into balance, and now you're coaching people and helping people to make sure that their lives are in balance as well.
Yes, definitely. That's something that I talked to about in our program, fitness program, is how important balance is. And like I also mentioned before, we have to be consistent in things. So if you want to become healthier, you start a protocol, you start a meal plan, you start a workout plan. You have to be consistent with that. You cannot just do it for a week or two and then expect your life, to change automatically. So for me, I guess, like a lot of people say when they get cancer, that cancer is not a disease. It's actually your body telling you there's something wrong. Do something. It's your body crying for help. So I kind of see this whole Lyme situation happening with me as, and it could be also with any of us, is our body telling us something it's not right. Because like you said, a lot of people are, get bitten and their body's able to fight the disease really well, and then some of us don't. So for me, it was probably that I was overworking myself, trying to achieve this body image that we all get, spam in IG, and is not realistic. Especially those people that we see with this type of body, they do it to compete. And what they go through, it's very extreme and it's not sustainable. So they do it for, a few weeks to go into competition, but then they go back to their normal life because it's not sustainable. So something that we teach in our fitness program, it's something sustainable, something, a lifestyle that you can, do it automatically. Wake up, you eat healthy. Of course, balance. I'm not going to tell you that, maybe once a month you go out to eat, or you eat, pizza and ice cream, but don't do it every day. Because like I said before, what you do consistently, if you eat outside, if you eat back consistently, then it's going to show in your body. But if you maintain a lifestyle, you want to be healthy, until whatever years you have left to live. And that's really important. And another thing is we should focus. And, after having Lyme, I focus so much on feeling healthy and being healthy than just having a nice body. Because what's the point of having a nice body but feeling sick, not feeling energized, and not thriving? Like, there's no point to that. So I work out now. I work out to have strong heart, to have strong bones when I get older, to have good stamina, to feel energized, to feel healthy, to feel good. That's what I focus on now.
So now let's talk about the last thing we talk about with everyone on the Thick Boot Camp podcast. You're a mom. You have several children who I know are
Or
the apple of your eye, and we have the same number of children. Another one of the things you and I have in common as parents of 4 children. So I'm going to pick out one of your children. If one of your children came walking into the room where you're sitting right now, right after the podcast, after they'd been in your backyard, looking at nature and enjoying the deer, but came in with a tick biting them, what would you do so that they wouldn't have to go on the same journey that you've been on?
Jesus, I'm not gonna lie. I would totally panic and think, the worst. Like, I mean, just right now, like just thinking about it and imagine that situation is like, oh Lord. But I now have a tick removal thing that I didn't have before. So first thing I would do, I will remove the tick, I'll put it in a bag, and I'll send it to a lab to be tested. Meanwhile, I will give them, I will put them on a protocol. I will start coffee enema. I will start giving them oil of oregano in orange juice. Kids can also take chloride dioxide, so I would definitely start giving them that, because that's something that can kill a lot of bacteria in the body. And that's pretty much what I would do, and wait for the results and just pretty much do what I do.
All right. Rose, we can't thank you enough for taking time out of your really busy schedule, a busy fitness professional and mother of 4. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful story with those of us here at Tick Boot Camp.
Thank you. And I really, really hope this can help someone out there, like really. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate. You can contact me and I can guide you through whatever question you have.
Thank you for listening to the Tick Boot Camp interview with our guest, Rosmeyris Estrella. To our listeners, we have a call to action. First, if you'd like to learn more about Rose, please visit our Instagram page at r_ESTRELLA_. Second, if you enjoyed this episode of our Tick Boot Camp podcast, please share it with your friends by using the social media buttons you see at the bottom of our post. Third, Tick Boot Camp is created a Tick Bite Blueprint that has been inspired by the information that has been provided to us by past podcast guests. We urge you to visit our website at tickbootcamp.com to view our blueprint. Please note we'd appreciate any input or any improvements you would like to share with us. Fourth, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify to get your automatic episode updates of our Tick Boot Camp podcast. And finally, we thank your community for your comments on our past podcast episodes. Please take a minute to leave us an honest review on Apple Podcasts, on Instagram, or on our website. We make it a point to read every single one of the reviews you're kind enough to leave us. Thank you, as always, for listening.